Hi all, welcome to the Business Analyst Training Program conducted by TechieBeats. I'm Lakshmi. I hold Engineering and Information Science and Technology, MBA in Management subject and a professional doctorate in Management in Computers and Management subject. So I have about 12 to 13 years of experience in the field of software development, business analysis, data analytics and visualization. So I will be your trainer throughout this course. So seems we have some new participants today. Could you please introduce yourself, your name, and what are you currently working on? Are you a student or a working professional?
Hello.
Hi Swati, go ahead.
Hi Lakshmi, this is Swati Mishra. Uh, I did my master's in finance and from India, and currently I'm working as a business analyst with Devu Power India Limited.
Okay, so what's your main area of specialization? Are you from the IT background or what are you working at?
No, I'm not from the IT background. Basically, I did my master's master in business administrations, and currently I'm working on Agile and Scrum for the company and mainly into SQL testing.
Okay, so you have good hands-on with development activities with your current
Uh,
organization?
yes.
You do, okay. Okay, so are you also involved in testing related activities, QA, quality assurance for the company?
Yes, I am.
You are. Okay, great. Then most welcome to the session because it's going to be very informative to you and it's going to be a value add to the work that you've been doing on a day-to-day basis, and it's really going to help you with your career.
Thank you, Lakshmi.
Thanks, Swati. Can we have Rashmi? Could you please introduce yourself? Rashmi? If you're unable to talk, you can also type. I can read it out to the other audience. Okay, let's get started. So in our previous session, we've already seen what is business analysis, what are the roles and responsibilities of a business analyst, and what are the competencies or deliverables expected from a business analyst. Just a quick recap of what we have studied or what we have understood from the previous session, and then we will see some new topics today that's going to give more idea about what business analysis process actually means in a software company, right? So as a part of this training program, for the benefit of new participants, I would like to go through the curriculum that we will be covering. We will be giving you an introduction to the business analysis, roles and responsibilities of business analysts, competencies and deliverables of business analysts, software development lifecycle. We will also cover the different software development lifecycle methodologies, requirement elicitation and analysis process, various business analysis templates that you will be using on your day-to-day work, on a day-to-day basis for whatever work that you do as a business analyst in a software company. You would require a number of templates, templates of documents like business requirement document, functional requirement document, functional design document, and technical specification document. So there are a lot of documents that we will go through. Along with that, there are a number of templates that you would need as a business analyst. So all those templates, documents together are referred to as artifacts, and that will be shared with you all. So other than that, we will be covering unified modeling language in detail. So we'll be covering UML activities, UML sequence diagrams, use case diagrams, state machine diagram, and all required diagrams using MS Visio that as a business analyst you must know for creating different types of documents. We will see how to create use case specification, how to work on use case modeling, and use case, scenario, and use case modeling is nothing but how do you create use case diagrams and how do you develop use case scenarios. Very, very important, because as a business analyst, you will start working on use case modeling right from the business requirement document. So there are data modeling techniques both from the system development perspective as well as from a database development perspective. So from a system development perspective, data modeling is primarily used to create data flow diagrams and data flow model diagrams. We will also cover concepts like data dictionary, process mapping, data mapping, how data dictionary will help you when you do data mapping. And from the database perspective, we will be covering concepts like how do you identify entities and relationship attributes within a given set of data, and how do you create a schema. From the schema, how do you develop Chen's diagram, and then how do you move on to the Crowfoot diagram or the ER diagram. What are the different types of relationships? Other than that, we will also cover the quality assurance practices within SDLC, that is software testing lifecycle. And then we will also cover project management lifecycle. So as a part of SDLC, I will share different templates that will be used to create test scenarios, test cases. As a part of project management activity, we will be giving you the project charter and project management plan templates, which are very important. A plain project charter in Excel. How do you create timeline diagrams? How do you create Gantt charts? And how do you use MS Project, basics of MS Project, of how you can add a task, join the task, milestones of tasks, create a Gantt chart, and how do you link resources in MS Project. That will be covered. We will see what are the different types of tools that a business analyst would use. So the tools that we will be helping you with or training you as a part of this program include how MS Word can be used to create a very professional document that follows the ISO CMMI level of standard. And then MS Excel for data crunching, Excel VBA and macro programming or macro recording for process automation. I'll be explaining you the basic to intermediate level of SQL, how you can use SQL to extract data, to manipulate data and apply different filter criteria. We will also see different charting techniques using Excel and visualization using Tableau. Pencil is another important tool. So as a business analyst, you have to create mockups or wireframes of the screens, for which we will be working on a tool called Pencil. Finally, we will also be helping you with resume creation and interview preparation. Say about more than 100 to 200 questions will be given to you. So if you are ready with those questions, and answers will also be given. So you have to go through it, be prepared. Assignments will be given to you on a regular basis. You have to answer all the assignment questions. You can take time to do that. We understand that you're working professionals and you can't do it immediately. But make sure that you get good hands-on with the assignments and case studies. That's what is going to help you achieve in your business analyst role. So once you're ready to take up an interview, we can have a mock interview schedule. Once you give a go to say you are prepared for an interview and you would like to have a mock interview. So like a business analyst interviewer, I will be asking you questions, can be from the list of questions shared with you, or could be different list of questions. And then
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Will we be going to study Microsoft Visio?
Yes, we will be covering Microsoft Visio as well, yeah. For diagrams, that was the first tool that I mentioned, right? So for diagrams, primarily we'll be working on Microsoft Visio 2016, that is the latest version. So all these tools, Excel, Word, Visio, so all of these tools we will be primarily working on version 2016, which is the latest version. We will also be giving you a link where you can download Visio 2016 for practicing.
And there is also one more known as Balsamiq.
Balsamiq is a tool that is an alternative to Pencil.
Okay.
So you can either use
So
Balsamic.
once we are good with pencil, we can go with balsamic
Yeah,
also.
yeah, you can do that. Pencil is the much easier tool to create wireframes, and it is commonly used in all the software companies as far as I've seen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And then the placement activities will be taken care by the placement team. For any details about accessing day-to-day session videos or links, etc., you can contact the course coordinator, Mr. Sunil. He can help you with any of the technical issues that you face in accessing the blog or adding your assignments or whatever. So if you have any questions relating to the class, towards the end of the class, time will be given, say about 5 to 10 minutes will be allocated to answer the questions that you have for the concepts that we have gone through in the session. If you do not have any questions towards the end of the class, you can still post it on the blog and I'll be glad to answer you all. Whatever the question you post there, I will answer it at the earliest. Say within the same day, I will give my answers to them. Okay. We'll see a brief introduction of business analysis. What is business analysis? We're not going to go through in detail because already a demo has been covered, and then you can take a look at the demo video. We have a lot more concepts to be covered as a part of the introduction session today for those participants who were already present in the demo session last week. Okay, a brief introduction to business analysis. So as a business analyst, what will you be working on? You will be working on business analysis process. So what is business analysis? As the term states, business is the business. It is the actual business that you get from your external stakeholder or an internal stakeholder of the company. So what is the business? Development of a software or a product. So what type of a business analyst can you become after attending this course? You can become a business analyst in a software company. In today's market, we have different definitions for business analyst role. Okay, a business analyst is also referred to as a business system analyst and a system analyst. Right, a system analyst will have programming skills. A business system analyst will have business knowledge as well as programming knowledge to some extent, say about 40 to 50%. A business analyst is purely into business analysis. A business analyst will not be expected to have any technology or coding based or programming based prior experience or academic qualification. If you have it, it's well and good. You can groom yourself from a business analyst role to a system analyst role. Business analysis standards are created and governed by a body. It's called IIBA, International Institute of Business Analysis. It was started in March 2004 in Toronto. So there are more than 800 business analysts who contribute to building standards. So all the standards that a business analyst should follow. What do you mean by standards? Those are best practices that a business analyst should follow while developing a software product is defined in a guide, and that guide is called BABOK. BABOK refers to Business Analysis Body of Knowledge. Okay. IIBA also offers certification. PMI also offers certification. So we will see that in the certification part of it. Okay, so what are the other terminologies that are in the market? Data analysis, data analytics, business analytics, financial analysis, project management, quality assurance, documentation, and technical writing. All these roles put together, they call it as a business analyst role. So you have to check for a good job role that describes more about being a business analyst for a software development activity, because the business analysis process that you learn here is different from the data analytics and business analytics. Data analytics, primarily you will be deriving patterns from data. Data analysis is plain data analysis from the data that you have collated. Business analytics refers to deriving the patterns from the business, and then the corresponding analytical activities would take place in it, which forms your data science concepts. So R programming, machine learning. So these are all a part of data analytics and business analytics. Financial analysis, project management, and quality assurance are very straightforward. So as a part of quality assurance, you'll be working on software testing. Documentation and technical writing is a very important skill that a business analyst should possess, and that can be learned over a period of time. It's only the experience that you gain from different projects that you work for a company. So as a business analyst, you will work towards IT improvement, process improvement, and business improvement. So as a business analyst, you will get a very good exposure in the organization. You'll get to meet top level executives. So here are the different roles that a business analyst may or may not. Some of the roles could be a day-to-day interaction, or could be a point of contact whom the business analyst should contact on a day-to-day basis. And some of these roles could be restricted, say executive sponsors, vice president, president, etc. The business analyst could meet during the start of the project when a contract gets signed, and then on, the business analyst could meet them monthly once to just give an update, or if the business analyst is working for the planning and strategic management group, then a frequent meeting with the top level executives will also take place. So the kind of an exposure that a business analyst gets in an organization is much higher. The exposure is much higher compared to the other roles who are just dedicated to the kind of tasks that are given to them. A developer will work on the development activities, coding for the system. A database analyst or a database architect would primarily work on database related tasks. But as a business analyst, you'll have an opportunity to interact with different type of people working for different stages of a software development or within the process activities in the organization. So roles and responsibilities, briefly to say, you must have good analytical skills, decision making skills, managerial skills, communication should be really good, and then you should also know to some extent how to facilitate the meeting, because you will be involved in organizing different types of meetings, starting from external stakeholder to internal department level meetings, JAD sessions, sprints. So we had Swati who said she's worked on Agile. So as a part of Agile, we will have Scrum management, wherein we have sprints that will be reviewed bi-weekly, twice in a month. So during the sprint session, it is a responsibility of a business analyst to coordinate and involve all the point of contacts who should be present, who should contribute relating to the product development, iterative product development. So we will see more about Scrum, what is Agile methodology, what is Scrum, and what is a sprint in our future sessions. So here's a brief description about the various competencies that a business analyst should have. A business analyst should be good at dashboarding, requirement management, documentation process. So primarily when the requirement gathering is done, there are different phases in which the requirement is broken and moved into. The first level business requirement is documented in the business requirements document, and then on you divide it into functional and non-functional requirements. So within functional activities of the system, once the requirements are gathered, next you have to work on the functional system design. So functional and non-functional requirements, how they are basically grouped. So why is it divided into functional and non-functional requirements? How do you create a software requirement specification for a system? How a system is divided into different functions? How do you create diagrammatic artifacts that can describe each function of the system? And a high-level technical documentation is a must. So you must know how to create a system architecture, solution architecture, and then high-level system design. Okay, granular level of system design for each and every components of the system or parts of the system functionality will be taken care by the technical architect group, the development group, and by the system analyst. So you don't have to worry much about the programming part. As a business analyst, the only expectation from you will be to have a basic understanding of the technologies that exist in the market. Right? So be it a client server architecture based system development or web based system development. So what is the kind of technical understanding that you have about these technologies that exist in the market. That's what will be expected. They will not expect you to have advanced knowledge about Java programming or C++ programming, or they wouldn't ask you to create a class and object diagram, how objects are created for classes to access methods. No, they wouldn't ask you. So the reason I could easily differentiate these are because I've been a part of the complete SDLC, starting from the requirement gathering, being an implementer or a developer for the system, tester for the system, and then configuration management for the system, how it gets installed, how multiple versions are managed, how it gets deployed, and post-deployment activities like support, maintenance, etc. Right? So having an end-to-end knowledge about SDLC will surely help you over a period of time to move into higher levels of a business analyst position. So we'll see in the career path, say after 5 years or 10 years of experience as a business analyst, you can choose your career path. You can either choose a non-technical career path or a technical career path. So we'll see what those are. Right? So other than that, there are various business process modeling diagrams, workflows, storyboarding. How do you create user stories with acceptance criteria? It is very important, and that is the first level once you have a discussion with your external stakeholder or the point of contact who your external stakeholder points to. UML diagrams, artifacts, RACI matrix, and RTM. These are also important concepts which we will be covering. So to clearly differentiate a business analyst role within a software industry is to initiate the software development process by starting with the requirement elicitation or requirement gathering. Elicitation means requirement gathering, and then on planning the system, analyzing the requirements that you get, executing the system analysis, whatever has been planned, you create a design for it and you execute it. Execution means it is the actual implementation of the system from various stages the requirement has gone through. And then monitoring and controlling the system that is developed and that is deployed, and end of it is the closure of the project. So in a software company, a software project can last for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but it cannot last for a very long time, right? So if there are multiple versions of a bigger software like ERP softwares, so these days, we are very familiar with softwares called ERPs and CRMs, enterprise resource planning and customer relationship management tools. So the best part of these tools are, it would be a very long-term project, and these projects will be funded from CapEx account of the company. Okay, there are projects that get funded from the OpEx and from CapEx. So we will see what is the difference between that in the later slides. But these are long-term projects, and as a business analyst, you will have complete dedication towards multiple version releases of it, because ERP system is an entire automating and the functionalities within an organization. So be it the employee related, HR related, finance related, or procurement, be it manufacturing, or you name it. Okay, what are the different departments within a company? The entire ERP system will have multiple functionalities in it that can handle, as one system, it can handle multiple functionalities. So for say about 6 months or 1 year, one complete functionality will be taken for development. If it is procurement or HR management, or it could be sales, so it will be developed in multiple versions. Okay, so as and when one particular version is completed, the release will happen, software release will happen. How different is this from a business analyst role in a domain specific industry? In domain specific industry, you have to understand the process, you have to understand the process operations methodologies, and then you have to learn the operation skills. How do you execute the process? What are the different phases? And then the closing for a domain specific process, it can take years, or there may not be an end to it, unlike the software. So to summarize, business analyst is an individual who will bridge between the business and the technology. Talk to the business, understand the business, and translate the understanding to a form that the technology can follow. Technology means your development group, testing group, quality group, all those who are involved in the core system development. Okay. Now we will start off with SDLC, that is the software development lifecycle. So where are you going to be a business analyst? You're going to be a business analyst for a software company. So in software companies, what do? They develop softwares. A software is also referred to as a system or a product, okay, or an application. So all these terms refer to the software. Within a software company, different types of softwares can get developed. Primarily, the software is divided into two. One is system-based software, another is a web-based application. In web-based application, the style of development or the technologies used could be different. The implementation techniques are different. How the software is developed, how is that deployed onto your end user systems differ in both the system-based applications and web-based applications. A system-based application can be of standalone application type, two-tier architecture, wherein a client system and a server system is involved. Three-tier architecture, a client system, a middleware, and a server system is involved. Okay. In the web technology or web applications, the main difference is it is two-tiered architecture. One is a client system, two is the server, where the web application or the web complete package, the website package is deployed, the solution is deployed. There are different technologies that are used to develop web-based applications and different technologies used to develop system-based applications. C, C++, Java. From a very long time, these are the programming languages that are basically used to create system-based applications. Web-based applications, there are so many new technologies that have come into the market. JSP, ASP.NET, PHP development, Ruby on Rails, Ajax. So there are so many technologies that can be used to create web-based applications. In this entire course, you will find me speaking a lot about the technology, names of the technology, because you should be familiar with the names. So as and when I keep repeating those technology names, it will get registered in your mind and you will not find it too different when you have to answer an interview question or when your interviewer uses these jargons. You know, when they speak about core Java programming or J2EE, you should not be thinking, okay, what is it all about? Right? If you should at least show them that you understand what it means. You don't have to know how the architecture is developed within Java or how the coding is done within Java, what is object-oriented programming. You don't have to get into that level, but to a level where you understand what the technology means. So a software is developed in multiple stages. So these stages are referred to as software development life cycle. It is a life cycle within which we have multiple stages or phases. So the very first phase in software development life cycle is planning phase. First of all, you have to plan what system are you going to create, what product are you going to create. There are several inputs that goes into the planning phase, right? So within planning, first of all, you have to get introduced to your stakeholder. Who's your point of contact from the stakeholder? Is it an internal stakeholder or an external stakeholder? And then you have to get some inputs from your sales and marketing of what is the kind of contract that has been signed, what is the duration, what is the overall budgeting. So once you have a first or two discussions, two sessions with your stakeholder or the stakeholder point of contact, then your project manager will come into the picture. He will also be involved in the system planning. You will decide on what is the total budget available. How do you form a team? The project manager is mainly responsible for project estimation and forming a team. As a business analyst, you will be working with your project manager. And there are a lot of stages that you have to pass through as a part of the software planning life cycle. Within the planning phase, there are various stages. So in which the requirement system planning is done, you get the requirements. requirement gathering or requirement elicitation is done. And then whatever is the information that you've gathered about the system, be it the simplest requirement that you have received, you have to analyze the requirement. And you have to let your stakeholder know what are the requirements that you can accept and what are the requirements that will be on hold and the requirements which cannot be developed or implemented. So the requirements that you accept will be in scope to your project. The requirements that you do not accept will be out of scope to your project. Okay, so that's what you will perform in the analysis. Next is the design stage. So in the design stage, you will be primarily working on the system architecture and solution architecture. Other than that, you will also concentrate on the functional system design. So within functional system design, how do you translate your functional requirement into a functional design? That's what we will be concentrating on, or we will be working on. As a business analyst within the design phase, you will be working more towards translating your functional requirement into a system design. So once you have the system design in place and a wireframe, it directly goes to the developer or the implementer. It enters the implementation stage. In the implementation stage, all that you have to do as a developer is, as a business analyst is, share all the documents that you've created as a part of planning phase, analysis phase and design phase. The developer will go through each of these functional requirements and the functional design that you've created. They will take a look at the wireframe or the screen mockups that you've created, and they will come up with the actual system. So in a mockup or in a wireframe, if you have 2 or 3 text boxes and then there are buttons, say a login button, reset button or a cancel button, when you click on each of these buttons, there should be some functionality that should happen in the back end. Right? Every software that gets developed will have a front end and a back end. Front end is the user interface or the graphical user interface. It's referred to as UI or GUI. And the back end of a system can be a flat file, or it can be XML based input and output or interactions that happens where the data is exchanged from the back end to the front end. There should be a data exchange that happens, or it can be a database. Most of the time the front end of the application can be a system based programming, or it can be web based application, and the back end of the application will be a database. It can be SQL Server, it can be Oracle, it can be a Teradata, MySQL, MongoDB, Cassandra, you name it, whatever is available in the market, be it whatever is the back end of the application, absolutely fine. You'll have a different set of architects who can work on different technologies that is there in the back end. But in the front end, what you see is more customized. So as a business analyst, you will concentrate more on the front end of the application and to some extent with the back end of the application in terms of creating the required data structure. So what is the backend database data structure that you will create? You will work on schemas, identify the entities, relationships and attributes to be used in the system, and then you will create the basic models with the relationship. Maximum you will create primary keys, foreign keys and composite keys. You will give it to the database architect. It is up to them to go through these diagrams and they will create the actual database design, tables within the database and the relationships. Okay. So next, once this is done, the next stage is to test. Testing and integration. Most of the times a software is not developed as one complete unit. We have smaller modules or functionalities of the software that gets developed by different group of developers. So each of these modules will be integrated. Unit testing for the units or modules that a developer creates will be done by the developer. It's called unit testing. So other than that, we also have the system testing, system integration testing, which means all the modules developed by a group of developers will be integrated together and then it becomes a system, right? Up to that time it is just a unit of the software. It is only a part or a function of the software. Once it is integrated, it becomes a complete system, and then the system integration testing or the system testing is performed. So under testing or SDLC, software testing lifecycle, we will see what are the different methodologies that are involved in software testing lifecycle. Okay. Next is the maintenance. Once testing is done and everything is found correct and as per the requirements gathered, requirements accepted, software has been created, it is tested, it's been accepted by the developer, by the business analyst, by the stakeholder. Most important one who has given the business to you, they have to accept for the software that you've created. Right? So they will be performing testing on that. So that's referred to as user acceptance testing. As the name specifies, user has to accept the software that is created. Right? So after that, the software should get deployed. Where will it get deployed? There are multiple options. One, the deployment can happen within your own organization, or the deployment can happen in the external stakeholders organization. Most of the times, if the software is created for a process, the deployment of the software will also happen within the same company which has created the software. There will be a separate process or an operations team that will be taking care of the actual execution of the software. For example, if a software is created for capital markets domain, there will be a separate process or operations department that will use the software that is created that can handle equities, fixed income, derivatives and other capital market or financial instruments. So they will be more process oriented, whereas your software division will be more oriented towards the system development. They will take care only of the system development. But the inputs for the system to be developed, either it can come from your external stakeholder, the other company who gives the project to you. They are called external stakeholders. Who are internal stakeholders? Your own company. There could be a different business unit that works on operations related activities, right? So how these operations activities are basically governed. If there are any issues, they will come back to the development team. A company which is more product specific, right? So if they are into capital markets and investment banking or into healthcare based processes, or it can be into retailing processes, omni-channel retailing, etc. The process or the operation division is different, but there will always be a software development division that takes care of the requirements from the operations or the process department. So who are they to you? They are internal stakeholders. They are giving the project to you, and the funding will be done by the business unit which is a part of your organization. They could be sitting in a different building or within the same building, but they are a different unit or different business unit. So they are not related to the software development unit. Alright, so they are internal stakeholders. That's the main difference. External to your company who gives the business is the external stakeholder. Internal to your company who gives business to you is the internal stakeholder. So in the maintenance, support and maintenance activity, mainly once the software is deployed, there will be a lot of support and maintenance issues that can come up. Most of the times you would have done different type of testing, production testing, validation, verification, everything, every possible thing you would have done. But still, after deployment, there will be issues. So you should have a team that can handle all the queries that comes up post deployment. So deployment can either be to a production, which is a very, very serious thing, because a production analyst will be using the system in live, and it's all about money, be it whichever domain, right? It is a process, and if the process is stopping because of some system issue, it's going to be a huge loss for the company, be it to your own company or an external company. So support and maintenance activities will be ongoing. Service level agreements, SLA, you must know this term, service level agreement, both from a software development perspective and a process perspective. It will be defined for say about 6 months to 1 year post deployment of the software. Whatever issue comes up, it will directly come to the development team, and the business analysts will be involved. The first question will be, why did this error come up? It gets cascaded to the testing team. Wasn't this tested? Developer, wasn't a unit testing done? Then back to which phase? Design, analysis and planning, business analyst. They will always say the testing and the developer would most of the time try to escape, and they will say, this is what we heard from the business analyst. This is what the business analyst gave us. So you have to be very safe in such situations. You have to create proper documentation after each and every discussion. No email discussions. Please have different templates. All possible templates will be shared with you all. For new participants, I will show you different templates, documents and artifacts, diagrams we will be creating. For those who have already seen, now you understand the importance of the templates, right? So it is very important that you keep everything organized. Don't let things to be scattered. Having it on an email, per month you may get around, per day you may get around 50 to 100 emails. Business analysts will get a lot of emails. Every single thing you will be CC'd or a mail will be written to you. There is a printer issue. There is a problem with the specification. Print is not working. First email will be marked to the business analyst. So you can see the kind of involvement that you will have, and business analyst is an evergreen field because you're not restricted to any particular technology or domain. You are free to work on whichever domain that you understand or get trained on, or whichever technology, irrespective of database development, big data analytics, or be it a system development, website development, whatever it is. A business analyst is very much needed. Requirement analysis and process, as I told you, first of all, you have to perform the requirement gathering. So once the requirements are gathered, you'll have to work on requirement analysis. This is at a very high level. We will go through the different processes involved in requirement planning. How do you plan to get the requirement? So what are all the activities you should perform to first organize sessions where you can gather the requirement? That is also very important, right? Just like that, you cannot go and tell your point of contact from your external stakeholder, tomorrow we'll have a session, I will send you an email, I'll send you an Outlook meeting invite, we will finish off with the requirement gathering. That's not going to happen. It's not a one-day process, and you cannot give them one-day notice. It will take time, so you have to use proper templates, keep everything formal. You have to create proper observation templates, fill the observations that you have after each meeting. It can be an interview, it can be a questionnaire, it can be a survey, it can be a workshop, it can be a JAD session. There are different types of meetings. So what are all these meetings? These are all used for planning. What are you going to plan? You're going to plan the system. How will you plan the system? You should get to understand the system. What is understanding the system? It means you're getting the requirement for the system. End of it, it all hits the requirement. So requirement planning, requirement analysis, the system design, and then it goes to the implementation team. Right? So there are various stages involved in requirement planning. First we will cover requirement planning, then we will move on to requirement analysis, and then we will move on to the system design. So that's what is described in this slide. What are the different templates that we will work? So here is just a sample. We have more than 100 templates, and we have a lot of documents. We have about 30 to 35 models or diagrams that we can create using Visio. We'll give you sample of SQL code, Excel files, sample Excel files to work on Excel concepts, Tableau visualization. How do you create it? So as I told you, unified modeling language is very, very important. So it is not at a basic level. If we look at the activity diagram, generally when you see a process, you will just have a single view activity diagram, and most of the time they wouldn't even differentiate between an activity diagram and a basic flow chart. There is a lot of difference between a basic flow chart and an activity diagram. When to use a basic flow chart? How do you use a basic flow chart to create a process workflow? How do you define a cross-functional flow chart? So what is swim lane? How many types of activity diagrams exist? It is not just one type. There are multiple types of activity diagrams. Where you should use that? What is a sequence diagram? How many types of sequence diagram exist? Where should you use an activation block? State chart diagrams. There are two types. One is a state transition diagram and another is a state mission diagram. Within state transition diagram, if you would have learned a topic called FAFL, that is finite automata and formal languages, each and every state that gets transited during a system development is referred to as a state transition process, and how do you represent that is referred to as a state transition diagram. State mission diagram, on the other hand, is very important. It is a part of the unified modeling language. So there will be a question, how do you differentiate a state transition from a state mission diagram? So what is a state mission? Why is it called a state mission? So we will see all of these in detail. And then we have the use case modeling. So in use case modeling, I will show you samples of all of these towards the end of this session. Whatever we're discussing now, samples of each one of these will be shared with you. So within use case, we will see how to create use case specification. How do you reference a use case within a BRD, within FRD, within SRS document, and within a functional design document. Even a test case at times, along with referring to a functional requirement, you can also reference a test case to a use case. Right? So use case modeling, use case scenario development, and use case specification documentation is very, very important as a business analyst. Most important activity that you will perform while you are creating the basic documents, BRD, FRD, and SRS FDD. Data flow, data models, already I told you what are the types of data models that we will be going through. And the tools, you've already seen the slide and I've explained to you. For diagramming, we will be using Microsoft Visio and Visual Paradigm. Visual Paradigm is another tool. For easy use case development, you'll have to work on Visual Paradigm. Word processing, you'll have to use Microsoft Word. For Excel, you'll primarily use that for data analysis and data crunching. Process automation, you'll be using Excel VBA and macros. Data extraction, SQL Server, Oracle, Access Database. So the SQL syntax that you learn, the type of statements that you learn, you can use it on any of these databases. Balsamic or pencil, you'll be using a balsamic or pencil to create wireframes. Most of the companies use pencil, so we will also be learning how to use pencil, how to create wireframes using pencil. Project management, we'll go through the Microsoft Project, basic functionality of Microsoft Project. You can work more towards that on your own or when you get an opportunity, but whatever is needed from a business analyst perspective, we'll be covering that. Requirements management tool, there are tools that are built in-house in companies that are primarily used to capture the requirements and the user stories. So one existing tool is the Rational Requisite Pro. Rational Requisite Pro is installed at an enterprise level, right? So it is very simple. Whatever you create on Excel, primarily you'll create all your requirements on Excel or Word document. You have to do a copy paste. The only difference is for each of your requirements, there will be an ID generated, system ID generated for company reference. Other than that, you will not do any advanced things relating to the requirement management on tools. Collaboration, different ways of online collaboration is using Google Docs and Google Spreadsheet. You should also have good Microsoft PowerPoint skills, because most of the time as a business analyst, you have to present the work that you create, whatever you create, document, artifacts, diagrams, models, process workflows, etc. You have to present it to the end user. So most important, when I say presentation, you should not have the stage fear. A business analyst will not get scared when he's presenting on the stage or when she's presenting on the stage. If you stammer, that's the end of it. So you have to be bold, you have to take decisions and be confident about what you're saying. Don't worry, they purposefully, when you're very bold and when you're presenting, they will have questions. How do you think this part of array programming or pointer can be implemented? These are all programming concepts. If you do not know something, you can tell it is a programming concept and I do not know. I'll get in touch with the development team to gain knowledge about it, or to see how I can use that in the process, in the software development, need be in the documentation. So that's what you have to do, because I have faced all these situations. I've seen many of them facing these situations. That's why I'm telling it to you. BA role in quality assurance, equally important. A BA over a period of time can also become a tester. Initially, you will be working on manual testing, different types of manual testing relating to the system. So we will see in detail how requirements or design is reviewed, how a test plan is created, how test is designed, How do you design a test? Means creating test scenarios and test cases, how the testing environment is set up. So where do you test? The system and the environment should be set up. So that you will see how you can set up the test environment where you can execute the test cases that you've created. And then end of it, you have to create a report of the testing activity that you have performed. What is the actual result? What is the expected result? And is it matching or not? And you have to create a defect tracker. A defect tracker or a bug tracker is one where the defects will get tracked. And that's what goes to the development team or the developer to make changes to the system. There is a difference between the software quality assurance practiced in a software company. Software quality assurance is divided into two. One division will take care of the testing part of the software. The other department, other division of your quality assurance group will take care of concepts relating to Six Sigma, CMMI level implementation, ISO implementation, IEEE standards. Right? So Six Sigma is a process improvement activity, irrespective of whether it is for a software process or a operation related activity. A Six Sigma group will work towards process improvement, bring about changes. That is their main area of specialization. ISO, CMMI, IEEE standards. So these are all very important for development of your company. A company getting ISO certified means the standard of documentation and various standards involved in the software development or process implementation is as per the ISO standards. Many times while attending an interview or while speaking to a recruiter, what do we ask? Is it a CMMI level 5 company? Is this a MNC? Right? So what do you mean by CMMI level 5? CMMI refers to capability maturity model. So how matured is your organization in terms of process implementation, managing people, HR activities, documentation, audit process, inspection of the product, etc. Everything, A to Z. How standardized is your organization? That's what determines the CMMI level standard. So once a company starts with level 3, they'll have to undergo a lot of hard work, efforts have to be put in to reach a CMMI level 5 standard. Correct? There will be external auditors who will come and check each and every process, documentation. So as a business analyst, you will be held responsible if something is failing during the audit process. Year-end audit will happen for each and every documentation that is created as a part of software development activity or process activity. As a business analyst, your main job is to do the documentation part of it. So if you're failing in that, if the audit fails, as a business analyst, you will be questioned. IEEE standards, primarily it is used for documentation and coding standards. How different is a project manager's role from a business analyst role? A business analyst will think more in terms of requirements management, communicating with the stakeholders, be it internal, external, point of contact, performance and process improvement. Whereas a project manager will think more in terms of project, how to manage the project, how to execute the project, how to do a budgeting for the project, how do you estimate resources, both human resources and system resources. He has to create a project plan, work on project risks. What if 10 team members quit after the appraisal? What's going to happen to the project? Is it possible to get people from bench and train them within 10 days? Get them to work like whoever, the people who have put on their papers and worked out. So it's the project manager's responsibility to always have backup. Without backup, it is a big risk to start a project. What are the constraints and dependencies? If you're depending on some other department for inputs, so that is a codependency. He reviews and accepts the project. He forms the expertise group, means to say should have niche skill resources on time. Otherwise, you'll have to hire a new resource for the technology that the client is asking. Either you can hire a contractor, consultant, or a full-time developer, and then capture all the lessons learned as a part of project management life cycle. Software development life cycle is for developing the software. Project management life cycle is for managing the project. Software testing life cycle is for entire software testing process. So you should always remember these terms: SDLC, STLC, PMLC, commonly asked and spoken in a software company. So other than this, we have the business analyst role. So business analyst primarily defines the solutions scope. Solution means what? What you're creating. You're creating a system, a product. So what is the scope? What is in scope and what is out of scope? What is possible in the system development? What is not possible? Models business. When is the business analyst going to model a business? When there is an access system, means a system is existing. The business analyst should go through either the operation manager comes up with system issues or barriers, or the business analyst should analyze the system, do an access analysis, and then get the inputs to create the system. Other than that, you have a to be process to be generated. From the access system, whatever is the input that you get from access system analysis, that goes as an input to the to be system. How you are going to change the existing system to a new system? How are you going to change the existing process? There's no system used in the process. It's all manual. They're using Excel files and CSV files. That is also a new requirement that's coming your way. You have to go through that entire process, see what are all the different domains that they are working on, what are all the different process activities they do. You have to create process workflows and process models, and then suggest a to-be system. How can you automate the entire process? Right? Next, develops requirements work plan. So how are you going to gather the requirements? So you have to create a work plan for that. Develops the business requirements document. A BRD document should be created. Manages the requirements, validates requirements, supports testing activities, works mostly on documentation, creating artifacts, presenting it to the people, organizing meetings, right? So all these are activities of a business analyst. But a business analyst will also work with a project manager. When the team is getting formed, because a business analyst will know what are the kind of technologies that are required to develop the system. So that will be an input to both the development team as well as the project team to form the development group or the entire project team. Next, budgeting. What is the budget allocated? While a project manager is working on the estimation and the budget allocation, the business analyst will also support the project manager in allocating the money. What is budget? It's a money. So what's the money that you have on hand? What is your external stakeholder telling? Is he going to do a monthly billing, or are they ready to sign a contract and give the money with good full confidence about your organization? Or there are some stakeholders who would say, please take it on your shoulders, spend money from your pocket, finish the system development, then we will go ahead and release the money for you. Initially, we will not release the money. We will give it to you in part payment, 15%, then 25%, 15 plus 10. So there will be part payments. So in those kind of companies, it will be very, very serious, because only when you show improvements in each and every stage will that portion of the money be given to your organization. Only then the employees can get paid. So a business analyst in companies where they're getting new projects or new clients, the involvement of a business analyst and the kind of follow-ups the business analyst must do is much, much higher compared to well-established companies. Well-established companies have already created that confidence in the client, and then the payment part will be taken care. If you're working for a startup as a BA, then the amount of effort that you have to put will be much higher, and you may also end up working as a project manager for a startup. So these are sample visualizations that we will be working through on Excel and Tableau. Next, what is enterprise analysis? So as a part of enterprise analysis, you will be analyzing the entire enterprise. Okay, so even before we get into the complete details of it, we will see some of the documents relating to the topics which we have discussed. So it will give you a better understanding of it. Okay, so these are the different types of sample diagrams. This one, it's a single view activity diagram. This is a sequence diagram. This is a state chart diagram. So you'll be creating similar diagrams. And then how do we create use case diagrams using visual paradigm, and what are the various concepts that we will be covering? So here's a use case scenario. How do you create a use case scenario, and how is a simple use case diagram created? How do you create a complex use case diagram using dependency, generalization, include, extend kind of features available in use case modeling? Okay. This is what I was trying to explain you as a part of use case specification, what we would do. So there are so many templates that we will be working through. To start with, it could be a communication template. So within communication template, what are the different types? We have a communication plan. So you can see what are the different types of communication that can take place. This is just an overview document. There isn't much you can. So this will give you an idea of what type of communication you can have with whom. And then you have the actual communication plan that you would create. Here is a sample communication plan. So these, we see many people doing these on emails. It should not be done on emails. So this is how it should be. Communication plan, sample project, it's going to be for HR management system. So what are the type of activities? What's the purpose of a communication? Who's the audience? When it's going to take place? What's the delivery method, presentation method, documentation formats, level of formality, where is it going to take place? Right? So different types of activities will have different inputs in each of these fields or columns. There is an explanation for what you should fill in. This is a very, very formal document. This is how your communication activities should be captured. So similar to this, we will be working on stakeholder analysis. So the stakeholder whom you would work with, we will do an analysis of them. So here is a basic role and requirement elicitation document. So which point, who is the point of contact from your stakeholder, be it an internal stakeholder or external stakeholder, what is their role and what is that they're going to share with you? What will they help you understand as a part of the requirement elicitation process? So other than this, we have very good BRDs and FRDs. So I'll show you the sample BRDs and FRDs that we'll be using. This is a sample business requirement document, the first document that you would ever create as a business analyst, other than the the templates. This is the main document. Documents are different from templates. Okay, this is the actual documentation that should capture the requirements that you gather, say for about 2 to 3 months. Whatever you collect using templates or whatever methods, that should go into a document. The essence of all that hard work should go into a document. That's called the business requirement document in the first level. So we will see this in detail. We will see how as-is process is modeled, how a to-be process is modeled, etc. Not only that, we will be working on live projects. We have 3 different projects to work through. We have a performance enhancement system, ASAP, that is automation of software assessment processing. So within a data quality functionality, how the quality measuring activity has been automated from a manual method to automatic method. What are the various stages the entire project the software has gone through, how the software is divided, how do you do a system analysis, how do you differentiate the functional and non-functional database requirements, then how do you create a system architecture, how do you work on system design. It involves architectural design as well as the functional design. So within architectural design, we will see single view activity diagrams and other different views of activity diagrams, how use case modeling is done, and we will also see how sequence diagrams are created for each and every module. So how will these diagrams actually look when we see it on Visio? So when we see these on Visio, this is how the single view activity diagram will look. So this is the latest version of Visio. So this is the user login page activity diagram. This is very much different from a normal flowchart. So this is the merge view or a join node view activity diagram. So we'll be learning this in detail, how to create very presentable and very good activity diagram or different types of diagrams in a very short span of time. Right? Techniques will be taught to you, how to drag the shapes, how to adjust the spacing, how to change the style of the shapes, how do you use connectors efficiently, types of connectors, all those details will be shared. So here is a sample vertical swim lane activity diagram. We'll be using all the shapes that are available within each of the UML diagrams or other diagrams. So you will get to understand all the details. So be in future, after 3 years or 5 years, you will still have access to all these videos. So it's a one-time effort. You will learn all these, and then whenever needed, you can look at these videos and you can brush up your skills. You can start working on what you've learned. So other than that, we have different types of brainstorming diagrams. So we will see what is brainstorming in detail. Mind map diagrams. So this is a nice brainstorming diagram. Multiple view. Right? So we will be covering all the concepts in detail. So to show you, these are the different types of diagrams that we have, about 28, and then we have another 5 or 6, say about 30 to 35 diagrams by using Visio. That's a big list, I would say. We'll be covering all the concepts. Other than that, we'll also be giving you documents. As I told you, there are different types of documents, explanation for what is an enterprise analysis, the slide which we are just going through. So I will show you what it means. Then website details. So while we go through the website specification, all the details will be given to you. What are the technologies used for web development? Where can you see a website example? What do you mean by cloud? What are the latest cloud technologies available? Because cloud is a very popular concept in the industry now, software industry. So you must know that. All these details will be covered. How do you create user stories? How storyboarding is done? Okay, so these are some sample user stories. So how these user stories are created. What do you mean by acceptance criteria? How do you add user stories to an application? This is an in-house application where the user stories have been added. So how you add it and what are the different sections or parts of this user interface where you add the user stories. All these things will be covered and taught to you. We'll see the software testing documentation in detail. So what it actually means and how you will be learning these, what way it will help you when you learn these. Okay, these are Tableau workbooks. So here's a sample Tableau workbook. We will be recreating these samples, all the samples that we have here. Okay, while that is opening. So diagrams will also be shared. So these are all different types of diagrams We will be covering each of these diagrams on Visio, but these are diagrammatic references for you. All of a sudden, if you want to look at different, what is fishbone analysis? So you can look at this diagram. It will give you an explanation for it, how it is generated. This is how it will look. And then what is a mind map, right? So there are a lot of concepts which we will be covering. So I've given you a brief idea so you can see the number of documents we have. It's about 84 plus some software testing documents. We have a lot of software testing documents which we will be sharing with you. So everything together, say around more than 100 documents, 35 plus diagrams and other live documents, filled in documents or explanations. So all of these will be uploaded on the blog. Once you enroll for the program, you will have access to these items. So now let's continue with our concept of enterprise analysis. Okay, Tableau is opening up. It's taking a little while now. It got installed. Okay. So meanwhile, we'll see what is enterprise analysis. So in enterprise analysis, it is also referred to as a strategic enterprise analysis or company analysis. It is defined as focusing on understanding the needs of the business as a whole, its strategic direction, and identifying initiatives that will allow a business to meet those strategic goals. That is the actual definition. You just have to know what is enterprise analysis. You're not going to do much as a business analyst in this. So what are the steps involved in business analysis, enterprise analysis? You'll have to see an examination of the currently proposed business initiative should be studied, an identification of true and core business need should be checked, a description of ideal solution should be provided, and evaluation of strategic risk should also be done. So these are the basic processes that you will follow as a part of enterprise analysis. So you'll do an enterprise level analysis if you're working on bigger projects. So there was an upgrade of the version, so that's why it took a while. So this is the view of Tableau. You can download the free version of Tableau. If you are a student, you can get 1 year free access of Tableau software. I can tell you how to get that free access, whom to contact, and how you can get that on your system. Other than that, we will also be creating dashboards in Tableau, how the dashboards will look, right? How maps are created, how different types of dashboards can be, worksheets can be created, and how you embed all those worksheets within a dashboard. So this is the visualization dashboard. Once you learn Excel, Tableau and SQL, it is not just a business analyst role. You can also move into a data analyst role if you prefer to. That will be a combination of business analyst skills as well as data analysis skills. So here you will be given a strong foundation to move into data analysis or project management or business analyst. Of course, the main area that we will be covering is into business analyst for a software company. So this is how you create a storyboard, how storyboarding is done. Okay. Just a sample I wanted to share with you. Okay. To continue, so we have seen what is this. Next we move on to requirements elicitation. So what are the different techniques involved in requirement elicitation? Brainstorming technique, document analysis to review the existing documentation, focus groups, interviews, observations. Observations mean job shadowing, prototyping. It could be a storyboard prototyping, whiteboard prototyping, or a paper prototyping. Requirements workshops, survey or questionnaire. So what is brainstorming? Brainstorming means asking questions. But how? Not that as a business analyst you just can't keep asking questions. Or the other party whom, okay, requirement elicitation is an activity that is performed within your requirements. You will have to first plan it, right? So how you will be gathering. We have a question. The reason I'm answering this is because we have a question from Asta. difference between requirement planning and requirement elicitation. So what is requirement planning? First of all, you'll have to plan what are the types of requirements that you would like to gather. So within that planning, first is a people planning. You should know whom to contact. You have to build a rapport with them. You have to introduce yourself and then get an introduction about your product or the system. Ask them, is this for an existing system or is this for a new system? Get some product overview, the system overview. What is the actual motivation factor behind creating the system? Are there any existing process failures due to which the system is getting created? So once you get an understanding of all these, you will know what are the type of requirements that you have to gather. So what are the various sessions that you have to conduct with your stakeholders? So what is all this? You have to plan. Planning is nothing but whom to contact, what to ask, what to gather, which functionalities to ask, what more information to gain. To get that additional information, who is the point of contact? So these are all activities that are performed as a part of planning. Stakeholder analysis, communication, meeting organization, etc. All those come under planning. And then when your plan is executed, when people meet up, when you have sessions, when you have a brainstorming session, or when you have a workshop, that's when the requirement elicitation happens. The actual execution of requirement gathering process takes place after your planning. You're planning for what you have to get, and then you are getting the required requirements for the system. It can also be a system-based planning, like what is the kind of an environment in the system in which the system should be created. Right, you're not getting into the design details of the system, but you're planning, right? So because you are, after your meeting with the stakeholder, your project manager and the other leads of your company will be looking at you. They'll be asking you. They'll have so many questions. You'll tell them, okay, this is a project that's come up. I had 2 discussions with the stakeholder, and they've told, this is what it is. They'll ask so many questions. Okay, Swati is not able to hear me. Swati, you'll have to log out and log in, or adjust your microphone, your speaker, system speaker, or your headset. Audio is clear from our end. Okay, let's continue. So system planning, requirement planning, meeting with different type of people. How do you plan and organize the meetings or sessions? With a vice president or a president, you cannot send an email just the day before and invite them for a meeting. You should first contact them, seek their permission for it, give them an agenda, tell them clearly what are the points that you will be covering. Right? So they do not have enough time to answer all of the questions. Yes, Swati? Okay. So within brainstorming session, what we would primarily do is work on getting multiple ideas. For example, if you are talking about a HR management system, that is the plan. Initially, when you meet up with your external stakeholder, they will give you a high-level overview of the product to be created. Don't expect your first or second discussion, all the documents will be ready from your stakeholder, everything document, all listed in points, functionality of the systems are all defined. You'll have to just look at that document and you create your BRD and FRD. No, that's not how it is going to work. Don't ever expect that. Everything will be oral. It will be, most of the time, it would be an informal discussion. Only first two discussions, when you have it with your senior manager of the stakeholder, who's a stakeholder, it would be too formal. After that, they would say, could you please contact the point of contact from the external company or from your internal business unit. So who will most of the time be an analyst or a senior analyst or a principal software engineer. So that's it. They will be at a level of 5 to 7 years of experience. So that becomes an informal discussion. right? So brainstorming is where you will ask a question, the other party responds to you, and then you will ask a question to the response that you get from the other party, and it becomes a bi-directional communication, interactive session, right? So there should be some meaning in what you're discussing. If you're starting about a topic relating to HR management system development, then what are the type of questions that you can ask? First, they will clearly tell you, okay, we have a manual HR process in our company and we want this process to be automated. Can you please help us? Or can you please tell us, how we can automate the existing HR process? Then you have to ask a question, okay, we can surely do that for you. Can you please tell me what are the different divisions that you have within HR? What are all the functionalities that you have in your HR department, business unit, that you want to be automated? Then they will tell you, oh, we have a recruitment team, we have shared services, compensation and benefits, performance management. So each of these departments have different functionalities. We want all of these to be automated. We want each and every person in the HR department to have their own laptop applications in which they can feed the information. Then you should ask, okay, pertaining to recruitment, what are all the various functionalities of the system that you would like to be automated? Then they will orally tell you. Could be into resume gathering, contacting the candidate, sending bulk emails to the candidate. When there is a walk-in drive in the company, the system should have a provision to send emails to all the candidate names and contact details that are there in the database. Right? So, step by step, you should ask them as many questions as possible. If you do not know the domain, it will be very difficult for you to ask questions. So how do you manage that situation? One, you have to speak to your subject matter expert. Similar to a business analyst, a subject matter expert will be bridging the process team or the domain team and the development team. They are process experts. They will know in and out about the process, be it a banking process, capital markets domain, retail domain, CPG and FMCG. What is CPG and FMCG? CPG stands for consumer product goods. FMCG stands for fast moving consumer goods. It's the most popular domain in the world today. What do we all do when we have to buy a product? A simple product. We go purchase it online. Right? So what is this entire process of placing an order online? Customer order is created, then sales order is created, a purchase order is created, it goes to the supplier gives it to the factory, and then the product is collected, or if it is to be manufactured, it goes to a factory. Otherwise, it will be in the warehouse. So what is a warehouse? It is a place where the goods are stored. It's all stacked in piles. Okay, so once the goods are ordered, it should be taken away. It should be taken from the warehouse, and from the warehouse, it goes to the logistics team. So what will the logistic team do? The logistic team will ship the product, pack the product. A quality in charge will be there. He will do the inspection of the product. It's all fine. It's not broken. It's up to the standard. It's all ready. Then do the packing. On the packing, you have to put a sticker. That sticker should contain information about customer order number, sales order number, purchase order number, whatever number is generated as a part of the supply chain management. And then shipping. Logistics involves shipping and freight. So movement of goods from the warehouse to the customer's office or residence. This entire process needs to be automated. So what do we do in retail management, omni-channel retailing or retail management? This is what we primarily do. So if you do not know about the domain, you should have the subject matter expert. They will have a thorough knowledge about the process or the domain. They can help you. If you're not thorough with the domain, do not get into a brainstorming session, or if you have to get into a brainstorming session, please take a SME along with you so that you can ask system related questions. SME will ask domain related questions. Supply chain management, HR domain, some of the finance, banking related or accounts related, AP, what is account payable, what is account receivable, what's a ledger, what's journal, what's bookkeeping. So these are all common things. If you're from a finance domain, or if you worked on financial processes, these are common things and you will know how to ask. Healthcare is a very common domain. Hospital management, diagnostic center management, dental center management. So they, as a business analyst, your company may get a very big dental centers order for a software that automates all the processes within the dental center, dental clinic. So what do you do in the dental clinic? Patient comes and various dental activities are taken care of. So some of the terms can be new, but overall you know the flow. What happens in a dentist when you go to a dentist, or what happens when you go to a hospital, what happens when you go to a diagnostic center, or when you purchase something online, how do you do it? So these are generic ones, so which is much easier when you do a brainstorming. Marketing, product marketing, we will see how to create a brainstorming for marketing activity. What do you mean by trade shows? What are live shows, etc.? Okay, Pallavi has a question. Which are the domains you place the candidates? This is not a domain specific business analyst training program. This is a software specific business analyst training program. Here we will be dealing with business analysis process that is mainly followed by a business analyst in an organized software company, mainly software company. It is not specific to any domain. After going through this course, you can take up job in any domain, any software company, any domain where you can implement your business analysis process relating to software development, not the process implementation. Right? Process implementation is different. Setting up a process for a finance domain is totally different from the kind of business analysis concepts that you've been learning now. This is more into product or software development. So we will not be teaching you any of the domain specific details that is followed in a software company, because none of the software companies are domain specific. Today they may be working on retail domain, and after 6 months or 1 year they may get a project that is relating to healthcare. There can be projects of different domains, and as a business analyst you may be working on 2 to 3 projects at a time. It is not just one project. Okay, don't worry, there will be many other business analysts within your team. You will not be the only one. So there will be part of tasks that they assign to you. Create the BRD for healthcare soft system. Create the functional design for a retail domain, the system for retail. Right? So different projects, they can give you parts of tasks relating to that. That is also possible. Or as a business analyst, end-to-end complete software development, you could participate. So that's about brainstorming. Vikar Ahmed has a question. What specific softwares BA will be working on? This has already been covered, Vikar. I will show this to you towards the end of the session, because that's been covered during the question and answer session. I will show you that slide, what are the softwares that we will be covering. Other than that, we have the document analysis. Other than the brainstorming, elicitation technique, we have document analysis. So in document analysis, we'll be reviewing the existing documentation process. So what are the existing documentation for the process? So the system or the existing process should have documentation. So you'll have to go through that documentation, understand what is the process, and then if possible from the documentation you have to find measures to automate. Either you have to find measures to automate or create a system, or they may give you the system automation need, it's come through and they've given you the documentation. So what is expected from the system? So that is also possible. So at that time, instead of having n number of meetings with your stakeholder, you will limit the number of meetings or oral discussion that you have with them. And then you will have more of documentation study. They've already documented everything. You'll go through the documentation. You will make necessary points from the documentation. If you have to get the requirements from the documentation, you will do that as well. Okay, next is focus group and interviews. You will have different interviews. So when you have an interview or a group discussion, you can consider it to be a part of workshop or a brainstorming session. In interviews, either it could be 1:1, face-to-face 1:1 discussion, or it can be 1 or 2 of you from your company and 2 or more of them, say about 3-4 people from the other external company. So that is also an interview. So what happens in interview is, most of the time you will be asking questions and they will be answering you. So you're not trying to have a brainstorming session. A brainstorming session can go on for 2 to 3 hours, up to 2 to 3 hours. A group discussion can happen, say, for about 1 to 2 hours. Interview will last only for half an hour, maximum 1 hour, not beyond that. Beyond that, they won't have the patience to answer your questions. They may ask you to have another session. So in the interview, you will be the interviewer, interviewer, because you will be asking questions, and they are interviewee because they'll be answering you. You should have all the questions listed. We have 3 different templates for interview preparation. How do you prepare for an interview? Right, I can show you some samples of it so that you will understand what it actually means. So here is a sample interview templates. We have interview template, interviewee profile. So this is an interview plan template, date, location, etc. All the details have to be captured. Agenda, main questions. What are the type of questions that you will ask? Here the main part you should know is type of questions to ask. How do you open the session? What's going to be your opening question? You cannot ask, can you please tell me more about the system to be developed? Right? You can ask something specific to the system. Then what is the closing question? Limited choice questions. What's a leading question? Leading question means you ask them a question and then that leads to some other question. There's going to be a sub question. What's a probing question? Right? It's probing them to give you more information. Linked questions. So these are different types of questions that you must know as an interviewer. And then thanks and closure. Towards the end, you summarize, you thank the interviewee, and you follow different steps. So we will see how to do this while we go through the templates. So here is, yes, BA will be the interviewer, Rashmi. It's not a job interview, it's just about the system. So here's the profile sheet, whom you're going to interview. So you must know what that person is capable of answering, whether they have good experience of answering your queries or not. Okay. And then interview log template. What you observe in the interview. You have to capture each and every detail information of what you have discussed with them. What did you speak to them? Whom did you meet? What questions you asked? What did they respond? Any materials that you discussed? Any other performance related items that you discussed? All those have to be gathered. So generally you see all of these being put together on an email. But here we will be giving you all these templates. Who is the interviewee? Interviewee means who's going to answer your questions. As a business analyst, you are the interviewer. You will ask a question. One who's going to answer you is the interviewee. Okay. So that's about interviews. Next is observations or job shadowing. So what is observation or job shadowing? In observation, you will be allocated an analyst or a process executive with whom you will sit for at least 1 week. Every day in the morning, you will log in with them. You will log out in the evening with them. Whole day you will spend with them. You have to see what they are doing. You have to document, you have to write down. Who's going to answer? Yes, the stakeholder will answer. Most of the time, only first level of discussion will be at a with a higher official from your stakeholder, from your other business unit of your company or the external company. From second discussion onwards, they will give you a point of contact. So that point of contact will be at a 5 to 7 year experienced person who knows about the system to be created. So they will help you answer all the questions. Or you will also have to deal with the project managers, process managers, operation managers, their own company or subject matter experts. So they could be at a higher level. So that's when you will have interviews scheduled with them, and you will ask them relevant questions, what information you want from them. Don't beat around the bush. They will not answer you the questions that you ask. Alright, so you'll have to keep it to the point. You must know what questions, you should have it ready. Don't think that it's not the instant questions that you ask them. It's all prepared questions that you have to ask. Job shadowing, as I told you, you will sit with the process analyst and you will get all the process based details. You'll have to make a note of it in your documentation. Vakhar has a question here. He says, which means BA will be conducting direct sessions with the stakeholder to understand the vision behind the project and bring it to whom BA will report. Bring it to whom BA will report? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. BA should gather all this information and cascade it to all the project sponsors, the steering team, project steering team. So we will see what is a project steering team and what the project steering team is responsible for. You will have a project manager, you will have your development manager, process manager, whoever is involved, your business analyst groups, lead managers, etc. So whatever you gather from your stakeholder, you have to cascade it to everyone in your company, whoever is involved in the project. It is not just to your lead or to your manager, right? BA's role is much vast. It is, you can directly approach different level of people. It is not that you have to take it and give it only to your team lead. He has to approve, then it goes to manager. He has to, no, that is in a process or operation environment. As a business analyst, you will have all the freedom to talk to your external stakeholder, gather the requirement, and then you have to bring it to a business understandable form, right? They can give many inputs. You must know what input to capture and what is needed for the system to be developed, and how do you cascade it to different people in your company. So observations or job shadowing, as I told you, you'll be with your process analyst and you will see what they're doing. You'll make a note of it, you'll write down, or you will do some sort of capturing to understand what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, and then you'll come up with initiatives to automate the system. Or they would have already told you HR management system should be created. We have to automate all the HR processes. So job shadowing is a must. You have to sit with a recruiter and see what the recruiter is doing. What are the different types of files that they're using? Because a recruitment activity in one company can be different from the other company. So you have to make a note of all the process workflow. That's where you create a business process model for an as-is process, and for you design a business process model for a to-be process. Okay, that's where we will see how to create BPMNs. Don't worry, I'll show it to you in detail. Some of these terms could sound pretty new to you, but we will talk about it so much during this entire session, this entire training program, that you will get so used to it. After the training program, by default, you will know all these concepts and you will be very comfortable using these terms with others who are involved in the business analyst role, or to any software person, in fact. And then prototyping. In prototyping, you have storyboarding, paper prototyping, whiteboard prototyping. So primarily we use paper prototyping and whiteboard prototyping. You must have seen some huge, say about 10-20 people entering a meeting room. They'll be there in the meeting room for 2 hours and they come out. In the meantime, someone goes and knocks the meeting room also, they won't open it. At times it is locked. What are they doing inside? They will be prototyping. When they all come out, you go to that room for the next session. At times they might have not cleaned the whiteboard. You see a huge diagram on that whiteboard with all tiny boxes, square boxes, rectangular boxes, all different connectivities, arrows that are connecting, small cylinder shaped, that's a database representation. What have they tried to do? They have tried to prototype the system. From the requirement that they have gathered from the stakeholder, they have tried to prototype the system. Either it can be done on a whiteboard, mostly they do it on a whiteboard, they take a picture of it, or they will do it on a big printout with a bigger size paper or a cardboard kind of a thing. Or at times there is a glass table in the meeting room that's too big. Even there they can do storyboarding. They can do prototyping. Just give me a minute. Okay, so that's about the prototyping. Next we have the requirement workshop. So how is this requirement workshop conducted? How is a workshop different from a group discussion or a brainstorming session? In workshops, you'll have different group of people participating. You'll have about 4 to 5 people from the process team, development team, testing team, quality assurance group, whoever is required for a software to be created. All those teams will be involved and you'll have reasonable number of people participating from each of these groups. It turns out to be a workshop. It can be half a day or 1 day activity. In a workshop, you will study in detail about the system. You'll put all your findings about the system. Generally, you'll have this workshop created after, organized after, say, about 1 month of requirement gathering using all other techniques. You'll have a workshop and you will give all the information that you have gathered so far. It will be shared with everyone. And then lot of discussions will go on. The outcome of a workshop should be to come up with the required requirements that should get converted into a direct functional requirement of the system. Output of a workshop will consume all the required details that you have captured in the other elicitation techniques and come up with functional, non-functional requirements of the system. You will have it on hand, you will have it in your notepad drafted, and they will directly ask you to please go ahead, create the BRD and FRD. Even before you have the workshop, most of the time you will also have your business requirement done. But if you think you need all other groups to participate in deciding your business requirements, then you can have your BRD created after the workshop. Surveys and questionnaires. Most of the time we have seen customer surveys that are done outside a mall, correct? Bigger malls. So why is that done? To get the customer input. So in these kind of surveys, you will have a set of questions with specific answers. You're not giving limited choice answers, 3 or 4 answers to be selected. And then when the selection is done, you will collect all those survey inputs and that becomes your requirement. Questionnaire, same way, you'll have different questions for which the end user should give you an answer. Answer can either be a tick mark or it can be selection from 2 or 3 options. So you either call it a survey or a questionnaire. The end aim is to get the required opinion or feedback from your end user. So that is the actual purpose of it. Next, business architecture. The complete business architecture is divided into information architecture, application architecture, technology architecture, IT security architecture. At an enterprise level, business architecture is within the enterprise architecture. Right? So business architecture deals with the business model of your company. Information architecture is about the information processing Application architecture refers to different types of applications and systems that you have in the company. Technology architecture, technical capabilities of your organization. IT security architecture, what is the security architecture of your organization? What are the security norms that you practice, and what are the capabilities of your organization to implement such security standards? So on the whole, the business architecture is a set of documentation that defines an organization's current and future capabilities. You have to create your company portfolio, right? When you approach a client, you should have good documentation that you can share with them to say these are all the plus points of our organization. If you give a project, if we're getting a project from you, then these are the best things that you're going to get from us. Okay, in terms of application architecture, you can show different types of applications that you have created. So when you talk about the application architecture, it refers more to how many tiers of applications that you've used. Means to say, a two-tiered application involves a client and a server. Three-tiered application architecture involves a client, a middleware, and a server. There are applications like Tableau. Okay, a Tableau requires clustered installation on multiple servers. So how many servers are you going to have? Just for getting a complete server implementation, you need to have 3 to 4 server systems on which the clustering is done. So at times you have to also work on application partitioning or clustering. So these are all referred to as different styles of architecturing. So how complex your application architecture can go and how it can be managed. A huge application, what are the various advanced computing technologies or nano computing technologies that you have in terms of how the entire application can be partitioned, how the data is partitioned, or how the application installation is partitioned, and what type of architecture that you've already worked on, what are the pre-built architectures that you can give a demo of. So that's what is the meaning of application architecture. So to define your organization's current and future capabilities to your prospective clients, you must always have proper documentation done and a good understanding of what your company is capable of. All of a sudden in the interview they may ask you, you might not expect, but they may ask you, are you following a particular encrypting technology as a part of your IT security standards? Because we are much worried about the data. So what is the algorithm that you're using? So how will you manage this question? If you know, you can answer it then and there. Otherwise, you can tell, okay, I'll have to contact the IT security team for it, and I'll get you the required inputs. I will take this as an action item and I will respond to you. But if you say this, it wouldn't look good. Make sure that you know all the IT security norms of your company, and then you attend the interview. All right? So what are the various common terminologies that we have heard? What's a project? Who's a stakeholder? Who's a project sponsor? External customer, end user. Internal teams, development team, tester, project manager, software development lifecycle, business and functional requirements. BAs are domain and technology specialists. So by now you should have heard me talking about all these terms, right? So these are not new to you because we have covered all these in the previous slides. So I would like to take questions. Another 5 minutes we have. The remaining we will see in the next session. There are a lot of topics to be covered in the training program. For today, we will close with the terminologies, project activities, type of projects, etc. We will start from the next session. Open to questions. Don't hesitate to ask even the simplest question. It can help you take a decision. Okay, difference between external customer and external stakeholder. No difference. A stakeholder is also called as a customer. He is also called as an user, end user, client. These are all names used. A business sponsor. At times they are also referred to as a business sponsor because they are giving the business to you. Very good question. What is, asked as a question, what is the difference between a vendor and a client? A client is whom you will be serving. A vendor, in turn, is one whom you get a service from. So that could be some part of a project which you have taken from a client, but then you would like to outsource it to a vendor. A vendor means he's a supplier to you. It can be a component that you want, a part of a system, a third-party component, or anything that actually defines a service that is getting outsourced to some other company. It's called OEM. It's very common these days. You take a big project from a client and then you outsource smaller pieces of tasks to different companies. So they are all your vendors. The client whom you're serving, who's giving you the complete project and giving you the complete payment for it, they are called clients. Okay. Okay, there's a question here. What are the requirements to be known by BA before attending the session with the stakeholder? Okay, nice question. So you must know some domain specific things to ask, and then more of system related questions. Why the system is getting created? Are there any existing processes? Is it a process failure or a process barrier that is motivating to create a system or automate the process? So within the system, what are the various features that you would like to have? A lot of questions relating to it. So you will understand that when we cover all the other topics. Okay. What is prototyping? From Asta. Asta, prototyping means there are two types of prototyping. One is a prototyping requirement elicitation technique that is different from a prototyping methodology of software development lifecycle. So within software development lifecycle, we have software development methodologies. So there we have prototyping, which we will see in detail in the future session. But for now, requirement elicitation prototyping means once you get the requirements, you have to analyze the requirements. So while you analyze the requirements, you have to create a prototype of the system. Okay, if the requirement is about the recruitment process, the recruiter gets the resumes from a source, and then from that source it is moved to the central database. Within that central database, each of the resumes are tagged with an ID. Employee details are captured separately. So what happens is you will have all these in forms of requirements written down or in documents. But when you actually put it on a board, right, or when you create a prototype for it, you'll start creating the workflow. You will translate the requirement into an understandable prototype. So for prototyping, you can use some simple flowchart shapes which I have shown you. Okay, again we have this question. What softwares a BA will be working on? So I would like to go back to the slide. So here's a slide that describes the popular tools that a business analyst in a software companies would use. Is it the same every time or it varies with different projects? A business analyst tools will remain the same. A Visio or visual paradigm is a main tool for diagramming. As far as I've seen, past 10 years business analysts are using this. Microsoft Word, for sure they will use it for documentation. Excel is a sure thing to be used. SQL Server, Oracle Access databases, there are new databases that are discovered every day in the market. So you will just learn the SQL syntax and you may get to work on different database. Wireframing tool, for now we have Pencil. All other tools should look similar to it. Project management, MS Project is there in existence from a very long time, and Microsoft products as well. So I think at least 75% of the tools are static. Unlike developers, you will not be changing tools every 2-3 months, learn a new tool and then implement. That problem will not be there. Yes, you will be trained on all these tools except for Rational Requisite Pro, that is an enterprise level tool which you will be trained by your company. They may use that tool or some other in-house tools. All other tools we will be training you. Okay, if there are no more questions that I can take, we will come to an end to this session. Sunil, do you have anything to say?
Oh, well, thank you so much, Lakshmi. Well, hi, guys. This is Sunil. Well, I hope everybody know me. Well, I'm the coordinator for this training program. Well, Vikar, I see you here. Well, Vikar, Swati, Rashmi, Ashley. Well, guys, do you have any questions pertaining to the training? Well, Lakshmi is more than happy to go ahead and help you. Anybody has any questions?
Oh yeah, I have one question. How will be
Go
the
ahead.
first day of entry will be?
I'm sorry, Vikar. I didn't get that question. I just couldn't understand that. Could you repeat your question, please?
How will be the first day of an entry level BA at the job?
All right. I guess Lakshmi would be the best person to go ahead and answer that question. Lakshmi,
Okay, Sunil, I
would
will.
you able to answer that?
Yeah, I will handle that question. Okay, first day job of a business analyst in a software company. You will be first asked to understand the existing processes and standards within the software division, because as a business analyst, you will be working closely with the software development team. So say for about 2 weeks, you will spend a lot of time with the software development team, understanding the various processes that are involved, types of documents that are created, what are the existing projects that are ongoing, what are the projects that have been closed. They may give you time to go through the documents that are existing for completed projects. If it is for a new startup company, then it will be a blank slate. You will not have any of these documents. So whatever is the list of documents or the templates we give you, you can carry all these with you. You can always have it handy and you can start off with the implementation. So first 2 to 3 weeks in a bigger software company, you will be given time to understand the existing software environment, the development environment, how testing is done, what is the methodology that they follow, how agile is carried out. They will ask you to go through various documents. So they will not ask you to work on go directly face the stakeholder, get the requirements, and day 2 please give us the requirements. That will not happen. First of all, it will take a lot of time, 2 to 3 months. They will not ask you to approach any of the stakeholder. They will give you a lot of documentation work. First go through the document, then they will give you tasks relating to create the document. Initially some part of the document. It depends on your experience. If you're joining as a fresher BA, then for at least 1 month you will be developing only one small functionality within a document. That's how your day-to-day task will be. So it is over a period of time, your role will evolve and you will learn a lot of concepts. You will get to meet people. They will get confidence about you, your work, and then they will let you approach the stakeholder. Directly, though you're learning a lot of elicitation techniques here, they will not ask you go do the requirement gathering on day 1.
Vikar, I guess your question has been answered by Lakshmi. Has that been?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Fantastic. So guys, anybody else having any more questions? Well, Asta, Rashmi, Swati, Ashley?
No, I'm good.
Fantastic. Thanks, Asta. All right, Asta replies saying no thanks. Rashmi and Swati, do you guys have any specific questions pertaining to the training? All right, I get a response from Swati as well. Great. So, great guys. Well, I hope you guys had an immense knowledge about, or probably a great introduction about business analysis and the popular analysis tools as what I see right now. Great. So I get a great response. Fantastic. So guys, thank you so much for joining the session. Well, we don't want to go ahead and eat up more of your time. So we will go ahead and end the session right now, and we shall speak again on Thursday. All right. If required, we will speak again now. All right. Thank you. Have yourself a great day, guys. Thank you.
Thank you all, guys. Meet you soon. Have a good day. Bye. Thank you, Swati. Thanks, Rashmi. Bye.